hooker with a heart of gold, prairie nymphs, soiled doves, sportin' women, whores.
Prairie nymphs is very cute.
You're listening to The Oldest Profession. My name is Kaytlin Bailey. I worked as an hourly escort when I was in high school for no good goddamn reason. I was just super curious. And then when I needed money for the first time, I got into sugaring because I'm not stupid.
I'm Wendi Starling. I started selling my panties on the internet when I was 34. Then from there, made the very smart leap to sugaring at the ripe old age of close to 35. So I do that to help support comedy.
So every week on The Oldest Profession, I am going to tell a story about an old hoe that came before us because it's the oldest profession, so it's got to have a history, right? And all these bitches have really cool stories. So I'll be telling a story from a sex worker, whore, lady of the night, woman of ill repute, whatever you want to fucking call it, that came before us.
And you are listening to The Oldest Profession.
To The Oldest Profession.
You got to keep things spicy.
What's finger licking good? I mean, come on. Obviously, The Oldest Profession
has a history.
Literally stayed up all night talking about how, even though he is like outwardly supportive of my career, I can like feel in his body his reluctance to like let my career get crazy. And it makes total sense, right? Because there's one thing, dating or marrying a reformed whore. And then there's another thing of like, marrying somebody who won't shut the fuck up about it, which is my situation.
Right.
Like, I'm just not.
And it's not even like you're doing it out of like, I'm trying to be sensational or salacious. It's like, it's a cause that you're trying to work to humanize sex workers because
I'm a fucking saint.
Right.
Martyring myself. No.
Yeah, but it's like, it's just like something that you care about. It would be like, and not to compare us to animals, but it would be like someone that works for PETA or these fucking Save the Elephant thing, which I mean, obviously save elephants, but I mean.
Yeah, you can take the girl out of mainstream activism, but you can't. And I understand that energy is insufferable. That like self-righteous, like activism-y, like I'm right, you're wrong. Like I hate that. But like as an artist, like as a comic, I just can't not talk about it because I think we as a society are like so wrong about this thing.
Yeah.
Like we just decided that whores are wrong and there's literally never been any evidence of that we didn't just make up or impose on them or is the result of it being criminalized.
Right. And I saw, so there's Casey Coop, who is super funny.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
She's
I love
great.
her.
I love her. She's my friend from LA. She's a stripper, writes for Playboy, comedian. I on her Twitter the other day and I lost my mind. She was like, oh, good. Apparently, she's like, oh, good. We're making a biopic about Jeffrey Dahmer. We're humanizing Jeffrey Dahmer because he had a tough childhood, but still 0 films have been made about humanizing a sex worker. Even the Florida Project, and I think they tried, but I watched it and I still don't think they did a good job of like, they made her just look like. And I get that there are people who in that situation. Did you see the Florida Project?
I did not see the Florida Project, but I've seen a lot of these documentaries.
Well, it's a film, so it's not even a documentary. It's just an actual really cool movie, and it's about this woman. And part of the story, it's the people who live in these like motels in Florida, like the super poor, drug addict people
from that like low moment in Breaking Bad, where that guy. Yes, okay, got it.
And so the woman,
she was a prostitute in Breaking Bad.
Yes,
yeah. Okay.
Yep. And this woman she starts turning tricks on like on an ad on Craigslist or does like an Eros type of a thing. Mm-hmm. So she puts up an ad because she's a single mom, and all she does is like lay in this motel all day and smoke weed and like drink and get fucked up. And then she needs money for rent, and she's just like a terrible mother. And she's just like, I'm gonna just fuck for cash. And she like steals this, and they're near Orlando. And the movie's like, a guy comes out, and it's like, and I get that that's part of what's happening. That's happening in some parts of society.
Right.
I understand that's some people go into sex work
out of desperation.
Correct. So I get
that's crazy pants, high risk, very bad, no good choices because desperate people do desperate things when they're in a desperate situation. Like, and that's not unique to sex work.
Right.
That's going to be true of like a wide swath of black markets.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but that's where I think they were trying to be like, oh, look, see, but it's like, but.
Yeah, no, prostitution's always the low moment in a woman's life.
Right.
And not and this I think is like, what we're talking about today. Oh, what are we who are we talking about today?
We're doing Anna Nicole Smith.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talk about a woman that was like painted as a worthless piece of trash even though she was objectively hugely successful.
Right.
Yeah.
The one little, because the Maya Angelou one, that was so interesting because I didn't know about that. And she was somebody who was able to, like, she did sex work when she was younger, and then people
and then
just
did other
overlooked
things.
it. Right.
Yes, right.
And and this is gonna sound bitchy, and I don't mean it to, but like, it's easier to not be a target if you're not super hot.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think you're right that visually, because Maya Angelou, well, I mean, she was famous as a like singer songwriter. She performed and traveled. I mean, she wasn't famous, but she performed and traveled. And then I think I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, I think, was her big breakthrough moment onto like the national stage. And like when Bill Clinton introduced her to the country, she was like, she looked like a grandmother. She looked like she was America's grandmother. I mean, like that wasn't, it was just, and a bunch of our grandmothers suck dick for money, but it's just hard to see that, you know, like,
unless you click on a very specific category on RedTube.
They're not just
which
pushing
I
that
got
on
into
you.
recently. I don't know why. In the last week, I was doing granny porn.
Weird.
Yeah.
What is that? Does everything jiggle?
I miss my family. I guess that's what it must be. The holidays. I miss my family. So I'm watching grandparent porn.
Oh, wow. Do their jowls bounce like tits?
Yes, there's jowl fucking.
Jowl fucking. Wow.
So see, that's a reason to not get Botox. You can get Botox if you want, but you can have another career.
Miss out on the jowl fucking.
Right, you miss out on that later part in the twilight of your career.
Real wrinkles.
Yeah.
None of that fake shit.
Right. Well, the thing too, we've talked about this before, but especially being a chick in life in general, I think in anything that you do, and I've been having a million conversations about this, and I'm sure you have too.
Oh God.
And with the Louis C.K. And the Harvey Weinstein thing.
And the Ron Jeremy thing.
Yes.
And did you read that Rolling Stones article?
No, the Ron Jeremy thing?
Phenomenal. Here's what I loved. The author did not use the stigma of the porn stars, the stigma against sex workers, to discredit their stories. She just acknowledged that they had to deal with the stigma of sex work, which is why one of many reasons why they didn't come forward. And so like what this guy was basically he was just like a handsy, grabby, like he'd just grab your tit or he'd like just shove his fingers up like somebody's cunt or whatever. But like within the context of porn culture, sometimes that was okay and sometimes it wasn't okay.
Right.
But porn culture, sort of like BDSM culture, has really stridently articulated consent and boundary things, right? Like there are contracts involved because when there's money involved, you can get real specific about that.
Right.
So like it's not like these bitches didn't know what consent is or just misunderstood the culture. They like told him no, and like many men, he could not hear them when they talked, and because he thought it was okay, he assumed that it was okay for them because he's a fucking narcissist and he's unable to see and hear other people. And a lot of these women were like, no, fuck you. And then they would tell, you know, people, and they were like, oh, that's just Ron. That's just he's just like that. You just have to deal with that.
Right.
And that
well, that would be like going into Starbucks on your day off, or if you're on your fucking 10-minute break working in a coffee shop. If you're on break, you try to get a Starbucks employee when they're on their 10-minute break to
even make eye contact with you. No. As I don't give a shit. Chain smoking.
I'll be like, I'll make your coffee. I'll draw. What do you want? A heart? You want a swan? What do you want? I'll make whatever you want on your latte. The second it's my break, my apron's off. They're like, hey, do you have? It's like, motherfucker, I am on break. And people go, okay, sorry. And they're respectful of that. It's the same thing in sex work.
Yep.
We are now, I actually with a client, but like Sugar, the guy that I saw for a while, there was a time when I can remember where it was like not going to be a sleepover.
Sure. Yeah.
And then we hung out. And so the exchange was for a certain amount of time.
Right.
And then he was like,
time was up.
Time was up. And he was like, do you want to stay the night?
And you're like, no. Because you were like, do you want to pay me another $1,000?
Well, right.
Right.
And now the thing is, now that I did, part of me, I was really tired. I'm like, God, it would be nice to just stay the night. And
can't cheapen your time like that.
I know.
Right.
And it was just like a crazy thing where you're like, well, I have to
leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's nuts. And that's one of the things that like it was a little bit of a learning curve for me when I transitioned, because I did hourly sex work in high school, and then I didn't do sex work for a decade, and then I did sugaring. But like figuring out that timeline shit, because like sugaring's way loosier goosier, right?
Correct.
It's like you're doing an impression of an amateur. person. Oh, I gotta tell you this, but I want to get back to Anna Nicole Smith's story. So
I
let's set
love
this.
impression of an amateur. I love that.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. That's what you're fucking doing.
Yeah.
Like they don't want you to be a pro because they want to be able to manipulate you. So you have to top from the bottom. You have to make them think that shit is their idea, and and it's real fucking. It feels much more manipulative than just straightforward. This is how much my time costs an hour.
Yeah.
But what? And then this is probably how like fucking trophy wives feel.
Yeah.
Speaking of famous trophy wives, Anna Nicole Smith.
Yeah.
Let's set the scene. What era is she? I know it's our lifetime, but like let's talk about.
So this is for the young people. We might have younger listeners. A lot of
maybe.
people. Well, I forget. I'm like, remember this was on E! News last week. No, it was not, Wendi.
Yes.
You're 35.
Yes.
So Anna Nicole. Most people know this. Her real name's Vicki Lynn Hogan. So she dropped out of high school. Freshman year of high school when she was 14. I remember this because it was the year I was born in 1982. She was 14.
Wow.
She dropped out of school and started stripping.
At 14.
Like at 15-ish.
Okay.
Like
cool.
kind of illegally. She developed really young. I'm trying to see but so she
maximizing that amateur energy. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Well, she just developed. Yeah, they're like she's a fake amateur.
I was also a 15-year-old with big tits, and I will tell you that I got hit on relentlessly, and it wasn't by pedophiles. It was because I was shaped like an adult woman, and it's very confusing for a bunch of dudes, which is I think what they're trying to say about Roy Moore. But that's whatever. We can.
But still, no, you know the difference, and we're gonna. And again, this is because this is a modern topic, and there's a lot of shit going on in society right now.
Yes.
So please forgive us if we're not doing
this is going to be a crazy pants episode because it's a crazy pants time.
Right. And we're recording a couple episodes today, and this is our first one, and Kaytlin and I had real stressful mornings.
It's a goddamn nightmare. But go ahead.
But here's the thing too with the Roy Moore thing and all this shit with the young girls. Even I don't have big tits now. When I was 15, I had the similar body shape to what I do now, and I was like 5'6".
Mm-hmm.
But I swam and I worked out, so I had an athletic build.
Yep.
And I've always had. I didn't have big tits, but I had like a round ass, a bubble butt.
Yep.
So I had like a womanly
shape
and the same face that I have now. Obviously, like I didn't, and like the same voice.
Yep.
And the height, and then the confidence of just being, I guess, like a smart ass. My stepdad, I remember we were in Vegas one summer, and I was 14 or 15, and I wore my mom's black dress, and we went down to go meet a boy. I met a boy at the pool, a 15-year-old boy, and we were going to go get ice cream together.
Yeah.
And I never kissed a boy. I was a virgin. So my stepdad, who was like in his 50s at the time, was taking me down to meet this boy at the ice cream parlor. And my stepdad, and I'm in my mom's black dress, and we're walking down in the elevator, and as we're walking through the lobby of this Vegas hotel, some other older dude in his 50s hits my stepdad on his arm and goes like, "Nice," and gives him a thumb.
That's uncomfortable.
And my stepdad almost murdered him.
Yeah, right? Yeah, because the thing is that, sexualizing a girl is a threat in this society because of rape culture and because men have been using their dicks as weapons. So we're not celebrating the emergence of female sexuality the way that we celebrate indicators of male maturity, right? Like when men become men and they become strong and they start taking responsibility and then they get violent or like whatever it is that we're doing, right? We celebrate that in men, but in women it's this threat because sexuality has been used as like violence against us instead of celebrated as a thing shared between two people.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And
when dudes get their balls drop and their voices get deep and they get facial hair, they're like, "Good job, you're a man." As a woman, you're like, "Ooh, I got an armpit."
It's like, okay, now you have to carry your keys in your hand like a fist and like be like slasher.
Yeah, they're like, "Okay, great." And then you're like, "Oh, I got armpit hair." And they're like, "Cool, shave it off. I started my period. Here's a tampon. Don't talk about this ever again."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we never speak of this again.
It's so crazy.
And
then at the same time, we deliver this message to women. I remember at 15 feeling this like existential angst, whatever. That
I like angst. I've never heard that. I like it.
This existential fear that I only had like 6 hot years with which to maximize my sexual power that I wasn't allowed to have. But like as soon as I got it, I was withering on the fucking vine because we tell women like they're children until they're dangerous seductresses and then they're irrelevant, invisible old hags. And it's like we don't make space in our society to celebrate mature women because we pretend that the only thing of value in them is whatever they're bubble butts. Like I don't know what right? Which teenagers have. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too. And we're gonna
get back to Anna Nicole Smith because I'm fascinated by this fucking story. But this matters.
But this matters, and this makes sense here because and this is a problem that I have all the time. It's like we get, and this is with the sugar daddy thing where people they're like, I can't believe you did this. And I'm like, first of all, fuck you.
Right.
You know, and like when people get really uptight,
Fuck
it's like
what you think you
because you're gonna tell me I can't believe you would try to make money off of like your sexuality. No, fuck you, because from the time that we're kids, little girls, when you're a little girl, you are told do not have sex until you're married. Protect your body, like
it's your job to tell him no, like a dog. Learn to fight him off.
Right, and essentially,
it's easier for a woman with her skirt up to run than it is with a man with his pants down. I've heard all this shit.
And what the message you're sending to a woman when you tell them, like, "Hey, you save this till marriage," is
Gird your loins.
Is that on my value?
Yes,
the most valuable thing about me that I have to protect is my pussy.
Yeah.
No one's ever like, hey, you know, guys really love smart, funny women. So when you go out on a date, don't like make jokes right away because then he'll get what he wants. Save your A material till like the third date.
Yeah,
save your A material till you can see he knows how to fuck.
From 12 until I threw my virginity away at 15. Like I was trying to get rid of my virginity. I got turned down. I skipped school on my 15th birthday with a boy I actively tried to give my virginity away to, and he wouldn't do it because he was afraid that I would fall in love with him. Whatever.
Really?
It doesn't matter. Yes. So then and then I started dating this kid from the debate team, and then it took me 2 months to talk him into taking my virginity.
Was he the captain? Apparently, that's 2 months. That's a long time.
2 months, yeah. Well, you know, whatever. It was a thing. It was really funny too because like after we started having sex, after my mom like made me tell my dad, and it was like my dad had this like fantasy, I think, of like I'm gonna protect my daughter from these predatory men who are out there trying to fuck her. But he like took one look at 15-year-old me with my like double D tits and waist and big hair and just like oozing. Like I developed early and hard, and my 18-year-old boyfriend who like weighed 40 pounds less than me and just looked so much like a child, and he was like, yeah, my daughter bullied this boy into fucking her. Like this man did not seduce my daughter. That's not what happened.
Yeah, you're like, look, if you don't fuck me, you see these double D's, I'm in a motorboat you to death.
Yes.
I will suffocate you with my giant tits, all right? And you know how because they just came in, they're firm, and I'm physically stronger than you.
Right, well, I think he just knew his willful daughter well enough to know that, like, I wasn't an innocent flower plucked
right, you were being, like, coerced into sexual activity.
No.
Yeah.
It's practically out there hitchhiking, hoping to get
right. You're like, please, God, somebody,
right. Please, somebody, fuck me.
It's such a strange thing. You're either like, let me get rid of this virginity if it's such a precious thing.
Yeah, because I felt like that was my whole life was guarding this precious thing, and once I got rid of it, I could get to the business of becoming whoever the fuck I was going to be.
Right.
Because the overwhelming identity at that point was virgin, not Kaytlin, virgin.
Right. We got to keep these boys away from her. And that's even why when I start dating somebody, like I would rather fuck out of the gate because then we can have a conversation. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like up until that, like with the traditional dating, you get where there's this like the elephant in the room that is just like, when are we going to fuck? And the dudes are just like, when are we going to, you know? And even I've dated 2 women. And it was different with women because it was nice because we were able to like hang out. Yeah. And like there wasn't this crazy like, you know, I mean, we fucked right away anyway, but it was the 2 chicks I dated, we were both like very hypersexual. Yep. So it was just like, well, we obviously want to fuck each other. But it was like, but I like to fuck. Mm-hmm. Get out of the way. And now hormones are gone, so we can have a conversation that's real and it's not fueled by us trying to get in each other's hands.
So much of the wait to fuck him is couched in this language of that's the only way to trap him. Like the only way to get him to commit to marriage is if you wait long enough for him to fuck you, for him to think that you have value. Like that's the narrative. Yeah. And that's crazy to me. Yeah. Because also my experience with men, they are way more eager to fucking build a nest with a woman because when men move in with women, their lives get better. Their sheets get clean. They do their towel. Trey's Trey's an Eagle Scout and lives like a human being, and I live like an animal. But
yeah,
like,
I was gonna say that's you guys are
not,
reverse,
right? Yeah, we're reverse. I'm a monster and a child, and he has like 7 different kinds of pans, and like they all do things that are his very specific pants.
That's so, and he always is like his clothes are pressed, his hair is combed.
He's perfect. He's an Eagle Scout. That's just they're great dudes. It's like all of the discipline and like follow through of the military, but without the PTSD. Like it's
that's great.
It's great. Can't recommend him enough. What was I anyway?
Talking about like, well, men are more eager to nest.
Yeah, men are more eager to nest because they get things from us. They need things from us. We gotta
get. Well, here's the thing too. So like, and this relates to Anna Nicole Smith and her story. And I think this is a similar story for a lot of not chicks, but in general, like. So the message we're sent, and here's an issue that I have, is that like our sexuality is this thing, our pussies are this thing. This is like, okay, you got to protect this,
right?
Okay, and even like boys and girls when they're little, with little girls, most of the compliment, you're like, you're so pretty, and boys, you're strong, you're smart, you're fast, you're whatever, right?
Yes, you can do it.
So when we're sent that message as women, that like this is the most valuable thing that you have to offer a man is your pussy, right?
Right,
which is exactly the message you're sending when you tell people to wait till marriage. And I understand the emotional stuff is involved, but that's exactly what you're telling someone. So that's okay. Well, so if this is my most valuable asset, why would I not try to
leverage that
it
into something that I could use, like freedom or a car?
Yep. And that turns into, and you'll see this all the time now, which is like, you see women, like you talked about the 6 like good fuckable years. Right. You see where women start to bank on it. And then as they get older, they lose their sense of identity because they're like, oh my God, I'm not young and beautiful anymore. I have no value.
Right. And they're not crazy because people actually do stop seeing them.
Correct.
And it sucks. And it's like, I don't know. I think grandmas are the key to the future. Like I said this on stage, and I think I mean it, is like, I'm ready with all of this police brutality stuff and all of this like false accusations of prosecutorial and our broken criminal justice system. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to replace the whole fucking thing with just like a panel of old whores, like just a bunch of postmenopausal ex-sex workers. And if they think you're bullshitting, you're dead. Like that, like just a full execution power, a panel of witches.
Right.
Reverse this shit.
And they will just jowl fuck you to death. That's how they'll do it.
Jowl
they'll
fuck
everybody to death. I will motorboat you with my jowls. Like, Jesus Christ.
But I think it's
but it is this, it's like, and so with Anna Nicole Smith, so now here's something that is so interesting to me, and this is something that I struggle with before I ever did the sugaring thing, just as a woman. Yeah. But then especially, and with doing sex work and then talking to other sex workers, especially since you and I met, it's a fear that then I think is just amplified when you're in sex work. Yeah. Is this idea that like, you're worthless, your value goes down, and then you're constantly looking for like, you're constantly looking for like gratification.
Yes.
And
validation.
Yes,
absolutely.
And so you're like, okay. And like you said, it's like, oh, if I save my pussy for long enough, I'll get a man to marry me. Read every woman's magazine. It's like how to make your body look smaller.
Yes.
And like how to trap a man.
Yes.
Okay? That's all we're teaching people is
by
like
pretending to be weaker and smaller and less competent.
How to minimize your shoulders.
Right.
Don't even get, I mean, it's fucking insanity. So Anna Nicole Smith is like almost this over the top story and version of like a cautionary tale of like, okay, so this is almost worst case scenario,
which is crazy because she was an incredibly successful artist, performer, icon. She had an opera written about her post-mortem. Right?
And I think that what's so sad,
she's a cultural phenomenon.
Oh yeah, what's heartbreaking to me, because I remember I really identified with this story watching it, and this was years. I was never was a stripper, never was like considered like a super foxy chick. But like, it's so clear. So she started working as a stripper when she was underage, and so she married her high school boyfriend in 1985. They got married. So she was 17 when they got married. And when in 1991, so when she was 23, she meets Howard Marshall. Okay, so Anna Nicole Smith, let's do like for those, I'm sure, Google her if you don't know her. For the kids listening, Anna Nicole Smith was a super famous, one of the first really voluptuous fashion models.
Right.
My first boyfriend, I remember he was like, oh, I love Nicole Smith. He remembers seeing her the first time in a Guess ad, and he was like, that's a woman.
Yeah, no, she was a big part of my acceptance of me not being a real thin person.
Yeah,
Like I developed super early as well, but voluptuousness in the early 90s, we were still in our like Twiggy phase. We were like just coming out of like heroin chic
Kate
of
Moss.
thing. Yeah, exactly. Anna Nicole hit the scene, and I was like, oh wait, you're still fuckable even if you have thighs? Whoa, mind blown.
Right, your legs touch.
Yeah, exactly. During those middle school years when you're just obsessed with trying to make yourself into something.
Yeah, and I remember that too because I was in junior high when this happened. So I can remember when she was seeing these billboards, and I never had big tits, but I swam and I was taller. She was like 5'11". I don't know if you remember how tall. She was a tall, like an Amazon bitch.
Yeah, she was a force of nature.
Yeah, and I
She
can
took up
remember
space. It was great.
And I remember seeing her, and her hair was like super bleach blonde, just this over the top bombshell.
Yeah,
almost like a real live female drag queen, like this bigger than life,
like Dolly Parton or Marilyn Monroe. She's having fun with it.
So that's when most people started to know who she was. So she was Playmate of the Year in 1993, and then so they broke her. Then she did like an H&M ad in 92, early 93, which before H&M was popular. Now it was just in Europe.
I remember that. I remember my dad being upset at that ad because he called it like pornographic.
Really?
Yeah. Which is Guess's thing.
Right.
Like that's
Yeah. Well, they got picked. So then she gets Playmate of the Year in 93. And then she gets this contract with Guess. So now she's this huge model. And then she's on Playboy all the time. So now she's doing all that kind of stuff. Okay. So that's how people know her. And she immediately, she just got attacked from all sides as being like, like a whore. And in 1994, this is what's crazy.
Yeah.
And we'll go back to 91 when she meets Harold Marshall. Because this is like.
Sure. So
from
1991, she's still married to her high school boyfriend, working just as a stripper, and nobody knows who the fuck she is.
Correct.
Got it.
And she divorces her husband in 93. Okay. So when the public first knows about her, she like is just a super famous model, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And they're just people are either in love with her or they hate her. In 1994, New York Magazine pulled one of her Guess ads without her permission. And it's a picture of her in like Daisy Dukes and a white top eating potato chips. I remember the ad.
Right.
And she's squatting down eating the chips, and it said America's new white trash culture.
Oof.
So like she's getting called.
This is like Kid Rock.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay.
And here's a couple different things here. First of all, this is what's so insane to me, and I understand it being a woman. Anytime, and we've talked about this in other episodes, where we worship
We're never going to stop
youth.
talking about it. Yes.
I know. Where we worship youth and frailty. Because even though people be like, oh, she's a hot chick, it's like, yeah, but she's 5'11".
Right.
Like you as a kid, like she could beat the fuck out of any dude.
Yeah.
And she's like a woman in your face. There's no way about it.
She's not apologizing for anything. She's loud, proud. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
And she's not like starving herself to get people to like her. I remember that ad watching her eat chips, and I remember as a kid being like,
because she gave no fucks, and that was so hot.
Yeah. And it was like, but to be like, oh, that's gross and that's trashy. Okay, but so now if she lost 35 pounds and started doing drugs and was just like that, now she's classy and now she's a model, and now we can put her on the cover of Vogue and stuff like that, and it's not trashy. But the second you have curves and you have hips and like tits and like, maybe a belly, it's all of a sudden it's like gross. We don't want it, because that's again.
Well, it's just that the range of expression available for women is so narrow. She stepped out of bounds, right? So like you're allowed to be a model, you're allowed to be whatever, but like the unapologetic eating of potato chips, they just caught her in an unflattering moment and broadcasted it, and they were punishing her for being a whore. And then she got labeled a gold digger. She got labeled a prostitute. She got labeled, like, they tore her. I remember Anna Nicole Smith was like as a public clown. The roasts, but right? Wasn't there a roast of her?
And this is what was like, there was a roast of her, and she was just made fun of a lot. And this is what always broke my heart, because it's like, and you see this with other people like Mariah Carey, and not that she was ever a sex worker, but like she, as far as like women gaining weight.
Yes.
She was a spokesperson for Trim Spa.
Yeah, Miranda Lambert just went through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, it was a joke. She was just this joke of it. And here's what's so sad about it. So I didn't realize this. And then as she started to get famous and people start harassing her, and she is kind of a mess because that's where everyone's a mess, right? We're all messes. She was exploited, and it's almost like old school. You wouldn't think the exploitation of Anna Nicole Smith by the media and managers and people around her just using her for money. It's old school, like Marilyn Monroe.
It's the
shit.
same shit that Marilyn Monroe went through, and I would argue the same shit that like Britney Spears went through. And like this is a thing that we keep doing mostly to women. Like I don't feel like, I mean, the Backstreet Boys got exploited. Like I remember their manager, just like that kind of shit happens. Like young dumb artists getting rolled over is like part of the thing. Just like young dumb salespeople. Like everything's a pyramid scheme, but also it seems like there are more tools available to keep women down in more insidious ways.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing too, what's so sad is, and I didn't realize, and this made more sense. I remember watching the True Hollywood story about her when I was a kid, and I didn't realize that she had been. So here's how all the stripper stuff came out.
Sure.
She later, there was this is what, if anyone listening is younger, you might remember, they may only know Anna Nicole Smith as, oh, wasn't she like trying to like fuck that old guy right before he died for money? That was Howard J. Marshall.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was totally the story. The story was like Anna Nicole Smith is a tarantula who's gonna eat this poor innocent frail old man.
Yep. And Howard J. Marshall's family and their kids, and they were like, she's trying to take all his money, and she's a gold digger, and she's a this and that, and she's a drug addict, and she's what. Here's the problem: is she had problems when she was a kid. She dropped out of school. Marries her high school sweetheart. They're just like uneducated.
She works as a stripper before she's 18.
Correct. She's working as a stripper.
Probably wasn't great.
Right. And I can remember a friend of mine, and this is something else, going into sex work, like in the movie The Florida Project. There are a lot of people that go into sex work out of desperation. And that's not a good place to do anything. To do anything out of desperation is not good. It just, and I know we have to do it sometimes.
Historically speaking, 15-year-old runaways are desperate.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I've done, like, I worked at a farmer's market out of desperation. I'm not going to lie. Like, I needed that job. And when I went there, I was tired. And the guy that ran it would like sexually harass me and grab my ass and comment on my body, and I didn't like it, but I was like, I need this money.
In this Me Too moment, I want to make this point because I've always been so afraid of talking about some of the fucked up shit that happened to me before I went into sex work, because it's like, only rape victims go into sex work, only damaged goods go into sex work, only mentally ill raped, damaged women do it. And I think what we're starting to realize in this Me Too moment is that every woman has to deal with this shit. That this is not like a tiny itty bitty percentage of the population gets raped and then goes into sex work to work out their demons.
Right.
Most women, and I had this conversation the other day, and I realized this thing. I've never had a job where I didn't have to manage the unwanted sexual attention from somebody that had power over me. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
But not in sex work. I was able to negotiate all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
1,000,000%. And we're going to get back to, I keep knocking my ring on the table. And we're going to go back to and this is, because we haven't really talked about all this since the Louis C.K. shit. We haven't really addressed it on the podcast.
Yep.
This is a conversation I had with a guy that the guy that got me this bracelet. It's a very sweet guy that kind of like casually dated, nothing over the top, but we've gone out a handful of times. Nice guy. And it's crazy that men that seem very nice and respectful and sweet, and I've had this conversation with people in bars that I don't know, and they find out I'm a comedian, and they're like, what is this Louis C.K. stuff? And I'm like, I don't, and they're like, well, but honestly, like, I mean, if you're going back to a hotel room, and even the Harvey Weinstein thing, like, who signs a contract in a hotel room?
Oh my God.
And it's men, and I have to explain to them. I go, let me tell you.
Yep.
First of all, this happens in a lot of other businesses. I said, but this is entertainment show business is different. We're not clocking into an office. As a comedian, your office is the green room. Your office is the hotel if you're on the road. That's your office. Your office is the bar.
Yeah.
That's when we do things. I go, and the Harvey Weinstein thing, and even the Louis C.K. thing. I'm like, in entertainment, what you need a lot of times, because there are a lot of talented people, you need a break. It's not the same as banking or most other industries or Whole Foods or wherever, where you just show up and you work your way up, and then you get little job reviews, and then you get raised. That's not how it works.
No, there's no corporate culture. There's no HR department. There's no nothing.
And the jump from being a starving artist to success is so huge, and the change in your life is so different. And so I tried to explain to him. I said, okay, imagine you are starting out working in a firm, okay? Works
Sure.
in finance. I go, say you're starting out at this firm. You walk in and you're working in the mailroom.
Yeah.
And the head of the company walks up to you and he goes, hey, I can get you, there's a position open as like the CFO.
Yeah.
And I can get you that job and you're going to be making millions of dollars and you can have the dream life that you want to have. And you're working in the mailroom and you're like, oh my God. And he goes, yeah. I just need you to sign the contract. It'll be like 5 minutes. You'd be like, holy shit. Where do I do it in your office? No. We have to do it tomorrow night. I've got a business meeting. Just come up to my hotel room.
Come to my
sign the contract, and then you'll be CFO. You'd be like, oh,
yeah,
okay. I go, and I tried to explain. I said, that's what it is, and he was like, oh, and I'm like, so it's not like.
I've spent a lot of time in hotel rooms with like headliners and shit as the feature. Because that's just the culture of comedy.
Right.
Like you perform, you're buzzing from your performance. You're in bumfuck middle of no goddamn where. The comedy club was the latest thing that was open. They close as soon as the show's fucking over. Your option is to sit alone in your hotel room watching cable news or to talk to each other and maybe split a couple of beers that you pick up at a gas station.
Right.
Like, are you not going to do that just because you're members of the opposite sex? No. Like when you say, nah, I don't want to fuck you, dude, and then he respects it's fine.
Right.
The problem is with all of these dudes is that they can't hear or accept or give a fuck about the no.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing is I was talking, I'm like, I've been lucky with male comics and and I will, and I don't, he's probably not going to listen to the show, but I'm just going to put this on record and say, because there's a lot of stuff about like bad guys and bad people in comedy. And I hope I don't get emails from people being like, he harassed me.
Sure.
But Jim Jeffries, worked with him a handful of times, was never a creep. And we got very, very drunk together.
Cool.
And he would
that's that's awesome to hear because I really respect him as a comic.
Yeah, and we would hang out, and he would make and now we're drinking, and I get it, we're all drinking, and I remember one time he was like, he made a joke, he was like, hey, do you want to if you want to drink and hang out, you can come sleep. He goes, I have a big hotel room, you can come sleep on my couch, and I'm like, maybe, I don't know, I'll see. And he's like, couch, that's my nickname for my dick, and I was like, okay, well in that case for sure not. Yeah. And he was like, he was making a joke.
Yeah, of course.
But also, and I can understand if you're like, okay, but maybe
he was kidding on the square.
Right.
He was kidding on the square, but he gave you a graceful way to turn him down that didn't feel like a rejection.
Right. And then it was like, okay. And then it was the end of the conversation. And then we went and he gave me money and we played blackjack and I lost. But there was never a thing of like, and now you have to fuck me. Never once.
Because they're colleagues. And like, this is one of, I think, the insidious lies that I hate that comes from like some segment of male comics, but just misogynists everywhere. It's true of misogynists at law firms. It's true of misogynists in comedy. It's true of misogynists that work on trains or in police departments or whatever, which is that, no, Jim Jeffries is just doing an impression of somebody that doesn't want to fuck you in order to set up a future situation where he's setting a trap where he fucks you because pussy's like hunting and we gotta kill it to death.
Yeah.
Or like, and so it's like this weird dumb lie where it's like, if you're a woman and you're hanging out with a straight man and you don't think that he wants to fuck you, you're retarded. And it's like, no, actually, I think that he's a colleague that respects me. I think that's possible.
Right. And the other thing, guess what? Maybe we all want to fuck each other.
Yeah.
I have lots of male friends and female friends, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to fuck, but you know what? But I'm not going to fuck them.
Yes,
in the same way that when
I'm an adult.
in the same way that when I go to a restaurant, would I like to eat one of everything on the menu? Yes, I would.
Yes.
But is that a responsible thing to do? No, because first of all, it would be fucking expensive, and I couldn't eat it all. It's like there are a lot of things you want to do.
Yes.
But we're not these primal, and there's this weird pass we're giving men, but like society where they're just
animals. We should put them in charge of everything.
Yeah, and we're like, they can't help it.
What? Then
They're
why?
dicks. It's like,
no.
Be a responsible adult. Guess what? I got a dessert last night. I went out to dinner. And I was like, whatever you want. I got a dessert. It was great. I had 3 bites. I wanted to eat the rest of it. But I was like, I'm an adult. This tastes good. I am not going to finish it because... And
Can we just also talk about the fucking reality that women also have primal sexual urges?
Yeah.
I wanted to fuck everything that moved from the age of like 14 to 25, I think. And like, even though I was having a hard time coming, I still like... I felt like it was a pussy first, right? Like it was oozing this kind of like primal sexual energy. I thought about it all the fucking time. Like, don't tell me your dumb erection and algebra classes. I was humping chairs in the backs of rooms. Like, I mean, we're all going through that, but we tell ourselves a lie that women don't feel sex things because we're not fully human, because we can't empathize with this strange creature that is woman.
Right.
But the story that we tell ourselves about their sexuality changes, right? Because in Victorian and in late medieval times, women were the descendants of Eve. Women had to be contained. Women had to be controlled and beaten because they were more likely to sin, right? And then fast forward, I forget when this changes. I think it's the after the Victorian period, where we're like, no, women are chaste and fucking them is something that they do for you only if you win wars or buy them nice gifts, or like the truth is that women don't ever really want to have sex. It's something you do to them. And those are both lies.
Right.
Okay, I rant over, and I'm okay.
It's
so
fine.
Anna Nicole Smith was stripping under it.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit going on right now in society, and it's crazy.
This
and
feels
I feel
like a pivotal moment. I really feel like the fucking void has opened up, and we have
Yeah. And I had this conversation the other day with a guy, and we're gonna get back. We're looking at the time. We'll get to the Anna Nicole Smith thing in a second because this is all important stuff.
Fine.
So, but no, this is something that happened a couple weeks ago. I haven't seen you since this happened. So I was at a show. Now we want to talk about the power struggle.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just feel like I'm constantly having to explain to men when they talk about like, well, why? Well, just don't put yourself in that position. Just don't put yourself in that position. It's like, what?
You're putting us in that position.
Right. And
we're not doing that. We're not making you do that.
Right. We're not forcing any.
Right. But no, you're telling, when I said no in English, you're the person who decided that I didn't really mean no because of some other bitch you were hanging out with 10 years ago, or some lie that you tell your buddies. You're the one that forces me to go, no. And then you're like, oh, well, she's a difficult cunt and I don't want to work with her.
Right.
It's a lose-lose situation. Coming on to colleagues in comedy, like, look, I've fucked a bunch of comics, but like, and I've also been sexually harassed, and I've had not consensual sex with, that's happened to me in comedy. And the difference is really, really fucking clear. But like, if you force me to say no many times, you are like, either I'm going to fuck you because like I'm going to relent, or like I'm going to feel threatened, or like something is going to happen and I'll fuck you. And then you don't want to work with me because things got complicated, you know, or like I'm a liability now because women that you have sex with are a liability, a dangerous liability for some reason. Or two, I'm not going to fuck you and you're going to feel rejected. And now you don't want to work with me because I'm difficult or cunty or not game. It's it's shitty.
Yeah. And then there's even the third thing about that is if a guy's not coming onto you and they're married or they have a girlfriend, they're like, oh, I can't take you on the road because people
I'm
will
think that we're fucking. It's I've
had that said to me twice.
Yep.
And I know that it's not, and it's not them being like, and it's not something where it's like, oh, and trust me, I'm funny enough to feed. I'm probably too funny to feed for some of these people that have asked me. But it's like, we get along, and this is years ago. And I remember I would be like, cool, we could go on the road together. And one guy was like, you know what? I talked to my girlfriend and she's like, not okay with it. He's like, she thinks we're fucking. And so I had to meet his girlfriend and I was like, we're not fucking. And I remember he said on the phone to her in front of me, and it was kind of offensive. He's like, you know, once you meet her, you'll see it. There's no way I'm fucking her. And I was like, well, I don't know that we need a.
Oh, ouch.
I don't know that we need a name call. I was a little heavier.
Is it my face?
Yeah, I was heavier at the time. I was like, well, I don't.
This chain smoking wreck. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this is back in Florida. I was like, what? I mean, that's a bit much, but thank you. But that's like another thing that happened. I explained to some guy that, but you're talking about the power thing, and that's why when they talk about, oh, well, it's not. It's that we've structurally like kind of placed where men are in power positions, and they, as far as they're senior in business and they have more money, and that's the power position. I had a younger comic, and we'll get back to Anna Nicole Smith in a second. I got to tell you the story because we want to talk about the power exchange.
Yes.
That it's not. That it is money and it is status, more so than what genitalia you have between your legs.
Yep.
Because I had this guy, younger comic in New York, right? Nice guy. See him out. He's okay. He's funny. He's whatever. We were someplace after a bar show together. A bunch of comics are hanging out. He's newer. He's there. He's hitting, and he's physically stronger than I am. So he's hitting on me pretty hard and trying to buy me drinks, get me drunk. And I'm like, oh, I'm good. Thanks. I'm good. Thanks.
Right.
Now, he's pretty lit.
Aggressive.
Okay.
Right.
And aggressive and like pretty drunk. So I go to leave and I go to get an Uber. And he walks outside and we're smoking a cigarette and he's like, where are you headed? I said, I'm going I'm going to go home. He goes, yeah, I'm going to get an Uber too. And he's like, you sure you don't want to come back to my place? And like, whatever. And he's like, you're just so sexy. I think you're so funny and so sexy. And I'm like, yeah, thanks so much. No, I'm good.
Right.
And my Uber pulls up and I went to go get in the car. This is true.
Uh-huh.
He like jumped in. So when I carry a lot of bags.
Right.
So I open the car door. I get in and I'm like, okay, he opens a door and jumps in next to me and shuts the door.
Yeah, like with this impish grin on his face, like, are you going to let me get away with it? And it's like, do you realize that you are threatening me right now, you fucking monster?
Right.
Right?
And he was really drunk. And I also was like, and so we get in the car and I go, hey, I'm Wendi. And he goes, all right. The guy just takes off. He speaks very little English or whatever.
Sure.
I don't know, but it doesn't look weird to him.
Right, of course
we're drinking in New York.
It's just a couple in a
getting
car.
in a car. So now we're in the back of this Uber and we're driving and he's like, so where are we going? And I'm like, I go, where are you going? And he's like, wherever you're going. I'm like, well, we're not going back to my place. So in my brain, I'm like, okay, he's physically stronger than I am and he's drunk. Now,
and he can't hear you. You've told him no 7 times in a row, and he's just willfully ignored you the whole time, which is a clue to your animal body that you can't trust this fucking larger, stronger, volatile, drunk person.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
because he can't hear you, and he
Right.
doesn't give a shit
Exactly.
what you want.
And the fact that he got in the, so I'm like, okay, so now I gotta. So my plan was, I was like, okay, how do I outsmart this dumb animal?
Yes, I'm sorry. I just want to throw in there, like, this is one of the things with the reference checking and the like bring your ID and the show you thing. Those are many checks before an appointment where you have an opportunity to be like, jump through this hoop, respect this boundary, do this thing. And if they do that, it's like a gut check for, can they hear me and do they respect my rules?
Right.
Because if not, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So,
And this is one of the so many different. This is what's so crazy with sex work.
Yeah.
Where people go like, that's terrible and that's dangerous. This is way more dangerous.
This is way more dangerous.
Hanging out in a bar.
Yeah.
Just with a crazy, but like you said, with sex work, with the client, with somebody they meet, like you have their information, you have their ID. A lot of times, STD tests, they're going to be protection. So you've got like a paper trail.
Yes.
So if shit does go down, it's like, motherfucker, I have a paper trail. I can find you. I know all your,
Whereas like this Uber driver's not going to remember his name.
No.
Like, you're like, that's what? No.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
So what I did is, and so now I'm telling my friend, he was like, why didn't you just kick him out of the car? I'm like, because he's physically stronger than I am in the car. And the guy took off and I'm like, and now I'm in a confined space.
Right.
And he's drunk.
Right.
So now I also, because I do weird, stupid shit when I'm drunk. So I get it. So I'm not someone who I don't out of the gate go like, this isn't.
He's a rapist. It's
Right.
like, well, maybe
like,
he's
well,
an
you're
irresponsible
drunk.
drunk person, but he's not a threat.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay. And I'm in a confined space and I don't know him that well. So I don't know if I say something and he gets mad, if I'm going to get punched or get choked. I don't know. So I'm like, let me just keep him calm. He's very drunk. So I'm like, well, where do you live? So I lied and I said, well, I can't. Well, it's not a lie, but I don't take people back to my apartment. I was like, well, we can't go to my place. So I reroute to his apartment. Smart lady.
Drop him off.
Yep. And we get to his place and he gets out first and I'm like, bye. And I shut the door. And he was super upset, but it was like he couldn't even be mad.
He got a free ride home.
Yeah.
How can he be mad at you? The dumb motherfucker.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But the reason I think it was like because it was like at the end of the day, it was like, motherfucker, I'm paying for this Uber.
Right.
And I have a higher status in comedy, which is our work.
Yes.
So he knew, like, as we were, he kind of like, I was kind of talking him down and I think he realized it's like, now if he was more famous and if he was paying for that, now that would have been different.
That would have been different. And absolutely.
But it's like chicks have to deal with that all the time.
Yeah.
And that's going out to a bar.
Yes.
Now the rant is really over. Sorry. There's so much craziness going on
the
right
thing
now.
is that it's so amazing to me how shocked men are that this many women are this angry. Mm-hmm. Because, like, for example, if say he raped you, right?
Right.
What that's going to look like, right? The story that's going to be asked, that male comics are going to be asking is, why didn't you just kick him out of the car? Why did you let him get in the car with you?
Yep.
Why did you let him drag you up to his place? Why did you let him in your place? If it was just like a series of like social pressure-y things, right? Because like saying what I've had happen with a bunch of comics is they'll say like, can I do a thing, right? Like, can I walk you home? Can I walk you home is a real popular one. Right. And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, what if you get raped? I'm like, no. This, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna walk me home. I can feel in my body that you want to fuck me. I can also feel in my body that you're drunk, and I can feel that you can't hear me. So we're gonna get to my apartment. You're gonna want a glass of water. What kind of monster doesn't let you get a glass of water? Right? But now you're in my apartment, and a thing that I know to be true about the world is that you can pretty much rape me with impunity now because we're acquaintances, and I let you into my apartment, which means that there's no police or social thing for me to even be able. It's fucking nuts. And so when you start getting volatile, right? If the threat switch in my brain goes off, the animal in me is going to want to placate and calm and keep things like nice and easy because you can fucking hurt me.
Yeah. And that's what these guys don't. The men don't, and I think they're coming from a position of like trying to give a shit.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting is, and here's what, and this is what's, I don't know if it's ironic, but it is. This is what's so like it's not funny, but it's like with the sex work stuff, people look at that as like we're sexual deviants and we're the bad people. I gotta tell you, the men that I've talked to, that I've gotten emails from, that completely understand and are sympathetic to everything that's going on, have been two guys that are just like guys that I dated who are comics who are good guys, and they just apologize if ever they were creepy. That was nice. And then we're three guys that I've met through the Sugar Daddy website, three guys that I used to be with, that I used to date, that were like sending condolences because they understand the difference. There's a difference. And then so then how can you fault? This is what's so crazy. That's going on all the time. Yeah. So if it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. I have something that apparently everybody wants and dudes are willing to like go to, possibly go to jail for. Right. Do you know, like they're trying to get this thing for my, how are you going to then fault me for being like, well, fuck it. Then I'm just going to try to make money off of this. Because if people are trying to take it from me anyway, if I do it under my rules.
No, it feels, and it's so interesting to me because I wrote this essay and I stand by it and encourage you to look it up. The orgasm gap matters more than the wage gap. Because I think that like one of the reasons why women have such a hard time coming in this culture is that we can never really relax during sex because we have to be hyper vigilant because we're defending against male excess and male boundary pushing all the time. Right. So like if you really like relax during sex, then he might slip the condom off. So you have to be super vigilant. You have to be super vigilant because it's your responsibility to 100% make sure that he doesn't do that. And he doesn't think that he's a monster for taking the condom off. And he thinks that it's okay because you didn't fight him. Right. But you didn't fight him because you were in the throes of orgasm. But you can't ever let yourself get there because you have to stay hyper vigilant. Right. I mean, it's just fucking crazy. Yeah. And on top of that, the being hypervigilant about that kind of stuff, that's one thing. And then the other reason that chicks can't relax is because most of us are just like, we're so tight in like, well, do I look fat? Well, how do I look? Right. Yeah. So it's like your double, orgasm triple face thing. Isn't supposed to be cute. Right. It's this double, triple thing of like, if I totally relax or like, what if something gross comes out of my body? So there's this weird thing. I have a fear of shitting myself during orgasm. That's my big fear. I thought I did the other day, and I did it because where I thought I had to like do a check. But I mean, I don't care. I come a lot, and people can just fucking deal with it. If you know what? Well, maybe if you weren't if you weren't shoving your fingers inside of my asshole after I told you not to do that, but you think it's gonna feel good for me, right? And you don't believe me when I tell you that I don't like that, right? Which is just another indication to me that you don't respect my boundaries, which is another indication that I should be afraid of you, right? And here's the other thing. It's not that I don't like it. It's that I know I didn't take a good enough shit today. So I don't want you putting your hands in there. I'm trying to protect you, motherfucker. So I'm like, oh, no, my stomach's a little questionable. You put a finger in there and then you start fucking me. If I do shit on your bed, well, that's on you. That's literally on you. Can I tell you, this is, okay. So my first and actually only sugaring client, right? Because I went on a bunch of different like first dates basically, but I just tried to put myself in like Barbara Streisand in that movie's position where I'm like, no, I'm picking you too. Like, nope, you can't hear me when I talk. Nope, you're in the wrong industry. Nope, you're racist. Nope, I rejected a bunch of people, but I found this guy and we really connected and I really liked talking to him and he was fucking great. But one of the few times that we actually had sex, I went back to his place. It was amazing. He had like a Beauty and the Beast library and like it was really cool, neat stuff. But he went to go finger my butthole and he felt some poop in there that I was not aware of. And he very calmly told me that I needed to go to the bathroom. And so I did. I went to the bathroom. He had like one of those bidets. Yeah. And I was trying to poop and I couldn't, so I stuck my finger up my butt, and it was like one of those like hard, round.
Oh yeah,
shits.
like a little deer poop.
Yeah, a little deer poop, exactly. So it was a little deer poop, and I like hooked it with my finger and popped it out of the toilet, and then ran the bidet, and then washed my hands real good and went back to bed.
Really?
Yeah, that was my
Interesting.
solution. And then he didn't want to fuck me in my butt. He just wanted to stick his finger up there, and he wanted the poop out. That makes all the sense.
Yeah, that makes great. I mean,
Right.
that's a nice thing to do. He's watching out for your health at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
At that point,
Right.
it's like he's a boyfriend / doctor.
Yeah,
He's a
he
daddy. He's a daddy
because he wants to
doctor.
be able to finger me and all that. I don't know. It was.
Yeah, when people they're like, "Can I do this?" I'm like,
fucked up
"Well,
and
it depends how much you want to clean up. It depends how much bleach
I'm
do you
just
have."
really
in the
because
place."
I do sometimes have like, I don't know. I like to call them hot shits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where that's just that because that would be a fucking nightmare.
No.
Like that. Yeah, impossible. So
Yeah,
lucked out.
I need a 48-hour notice for butt things.
Yep.
I'm like, if you need to put your request in, or it's like when you go to like a restaurant
or
and they
there's
have
gonna be
the
shit
really
on your dick.
right, or when they do like the fancy baked desserts where it's like, okay, this takes 30 minutes to make. You
Yes.
put your request in when you get to the restaurant. This is what I would like for dessert. I
Yes.
need a heads up because we're not just handing out anal
Right. Yeah.
at the last minute. This is not like an add-on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we
Anna
gotta
Nicole
get.
Smith.
All right. We've got 6 minutes left.
Great.
Let's see. Let's go through her. We went through her career.
Yeah. So we went through that. Now so she essentially, but it's just this weird. It's almost like she was like the sacrificial lamb to
Yes.
society as far as this woman that we put up. Now here's the sugar daddy thing. So she got a lot of shit from people with dating Howard Marshall. Mm-hmm. Now he was this older guy, and they met when in 1991 before she was famous, when she was a stripper, and he was like her number one client.
Yeah.
And they cared while she was married to her high school boyfriend. She had an affair with this guy for 2 years, where he was like her secret sugar daddy thing.
Wow.
And then down the road, years and years later, they got married.
Mm-hmm.
This is after she was a trim spa spokesperson. This is what's so sweet. And
So
like,
she
I
didn't
might
need money at that point.
No, she didn't
was
need money.
fine.
Yep. She was, well, and now she did have, and we may have to, we'll go into this in another episode because it's something I do want to talk about is addiction and like drug abuse and things. And speaking of not eating all the desserts on the menu, but she struggled with a drug addiction. I think it's because, well, obviously just the way she was treating her career.
Yeah.
But she started stripping at such a young age and never really reconciled that, like,
Well,
she
was
loved
also-
herself.
She was called a worthless whore in print. I remember every time we went to the grocery store, it was just Anna Nicole Smith's fucking fat. Anna Nicole Smith's a dirty whore. Anna Nicole Smith's a white trash piece of garbage. Anna Nicole Smith, the laughing stock of America. And I remember her appearances on Howard Stern. It sounded like he gave her some respect. Now, maybe he was setting her up to be exploited. I don't know. But like, I remember him believing her when she was like, I love this man. He makes me come real hard. We love each other. This is a real relationship.
Yeah.
And Howard Stern being like, I believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's so sad is like when she was at the end, we were talking about this before we started. That's when we were like, oh, we got to just start recording. So the relationship with Anna Nicole and Howard and Howard Marshall, her old husband, who essentially was a sugar. He's not a sugar daddy. That's how they met at the strip club. They met while she was doing all that, and their bond though. What's so interesting to me is like that people think automatically that she was with him
For the money.
just for his money.
Yeah.
But it's like she had her own money. She had her own empire. Yes, did she? But yes, she had a drug problem. Yes, she had an alcohol problem and like a spending problem. And that's one of the things too is, but all the shit she had to look at, she was trying to insulate herself and build like a world and have some kind of happiness.
But like so many, not just women in entertainment, but like, you know, people forget because she had some very public appearances where she looked just like hammered, like shit faced and a wreck and a mess. But I think we forget like before a lot of that stuff, like her adult son had just died.
Yes.
From coming to visit her. Like she lost so much. She went through trauma. She went through trauma in her life, and she responded to it in a vulnerable and human way, which is succumbing to her addictions, which I think is something we can all understand. But because of the sex work and the older husband, I mean, her husband whom she loved, who protected her from the world, died, and
Yeah.
then it made her vulnerable to that sleazy fucking lawyer that just like milked her and let her fucking kill
Yeah,
herself.
Howard K. Stern.
Fucking
Yeah. She was just to have like, and that's the thing is people look at like
But
with
for
Howard K. Stern, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
he was quote age appropriate, but it's like, no,
he was the one taking advantage of her.
Yes, he was the one pumping her full of drugs, trying to get her money.
Yep.
So people forget she was rich and she was with
Yes.
this old guy. And that's the other thing too is a lot of times people in the sex work thing, and I think this goes back to what we were saying earlier in the episode where you talk about the lines are so clear.
Yep.
In sex work, whether you are an hourly escort or a sugar baby or a stripper,
Yep.
the lines are very clear. This is my role. This is your role.
Yep.
Now, when you do that, a lot of people think, oh, that creates, doesn't it feel fake or doesn't it feel like bullshit when you're with someone? And I think it's the opposite. I think people that are patrons of sex workers and sex workers understand that a lot of times that's actually more honest.
Yeah,
because you're not trying to emotionally manipulate each other.
Right, because you're not playing the long game. You're like
Right.
here in the present and now because there's nothing else. And it's actually it's deeply it's like kind of like that stranger on an airplane phenomenon.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels all like right.
Where you're just like, you can see, like you were saying that, like, and you said this earlier, but where like
I bet
they
that
can
guy-
see each other.
Yeah, I bet that guy had to have so much of a guard up, and I bet like that once Anna Nicole started to trust that guy, it felt really relieving to like let her guard down. I bet they were able to see each other in ways that no one else in their life. I think the thing that kept them together is that they felt seen and heard by each other.
Yeah. Well, because
and misunderstood by the rest of the world.
Oh yeah, and people forget that even though they go, oh, you're a hot chick, and dudes are looking at you because they're trying to get your pussy. And I also understand that for guys that are super wealthy, chicks are just like trying to get in your fucking
Not just
wallet.
chicks, everyone, everybody,
your kids, people, everybody's just like, I
charities,
need money.
Yeah,
people are
fucking
just trying to get in your wallet. And so the thing is, even though she had her own money, they were like, oh, we met in this pure time where it's like, oh yeah, you like him. Well, yeah,
simpler.
he's rich, but she wasn't trying to exploit him for money. He would show up to the club where she
and
would
pay
dance.
her for the service that she was offering
Right.
for an explicit and pre-negotiated fee. She wasn't manipulating him out of money. She was charging him her hourly rate.
Right. It's like, it's so insane that people, and it's like, no, that's actually like a more pure relationship than what Howard K. Stern was doing.
Which was explicitly manipulating her emotionally
right.
and pumping her full of drugs to try to, I mean, he just let her die.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I watched that heartbreaking documentary, like the last hours of her
Yes.
life. And I learned two things. One, it apparently takes a fuck ton of drugs to actually kill you.
Yeah.
And two, that guy's a monster.
Yeah, the video where she's, if you guys haven't seen this, I may, well, either put a link up or just Google it, but it's so sad when she, towards the end of her life, because you just look at all these things where it's like, it seems like such a fairy tale life.
Yeah.
But she was propped and...
You propped up.
She was propped up.
Pimped out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to talk about being pimped out? You want to talk about respect
Yes.
yourself? Don't be a sex worker. Don't be an escort. Don't strip. Respect yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of chicks who are strippers and men, but a lot of sex workers, I've never. I mean, as
They have
disrespected
more of a
as
sense
she
of their
was,
autonomy.
right?
Yeah.
As disrespected as she was by just media,
Yeah.
and people, like she would go and she was wealthy and she would go and she would gain weight. I've had guys where I've dated, like normally, and if you gain weight or lose weight, they have some fucking comment to make. With the sugaring, the guys that never once I'd be like, oh, I just feel bloated, or I feel like I gained weight, and they're like, I think you're beautiful, I don't care.
Yeah, no, that's something I discovered.
It's crazy.
No. It's actually here's what I think is happening. Okay, because this is a phenomenon that I experienced as well, and I couldn't make sense of it because I'd have boyfriends who were like, oh, you're gaining weight, or I don't like your makeup that way, or whatever. Never from a client. And here's what I figured. Once you pay hundreds or thousands of dollars for an experience, you're kind of emotionally invested in having that experience. So if you're paying for a sex goddess, you are predisposed to see a sex goddess, even if a hot mess shows up. Like that's something that, and I think the same is true with charity donations, and specifically donations to candidates. Like once you donate money to a cause or a candidate, you're more likely to vote, and you're more likely to feel stronger about that thing than before. It's not like feeling strong about a thing leads to giving money. It's giving money leads to feeling strongly about a thing because you have to rationalize the investment.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same with personal training. When I was a trainer,
Yes.
clients would pay money. They were more likely to work out.
Yep.
And they also will find results they're more like, and that's with all the diet pills and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, they're more likely to see it because it's in their head. It's a
Yes,
placebo
and
effect.
if they would buy these diet pills, and the psychology is if someone was spending a couple $100 on diet pills and meal supplements,
Yes.
because they have financially invested and emotionally invested,
and the habit, the popping of the pill is the
Right.
daily reminder to give a fuck about
right?
this. Yeah.
And so then they will subconsciously or consciously go to the gym.
Yep.
Make healthier food choices.
Yep.
Why? Because they're like, well, I've spent money
Yes.
on this thing to reach this goal, and so then they will eat more vegetables. They
Yep.
will go do an extra session of cardio in the week, like because they've invested in something, and that's why the money thing is so
Yep.
key. And but it's just is like. It's so sad to watch what happens. I mean, just the exploitation of women, just in general.
Yep.
In general, and we're seeing it happen now. That's what's happening right now. All this shit is being like blown up.
Yeah, and it really feels like a zeitgeist moment, and I expect a backlash. I don't know what it's going to look like. I just hope it's not violent. But historically, it's shit like this that led to the witch burnings. It's shit like this that led to the stripping women of their property rights. It's not like this is the first time in human history that women have had the right to move freely and participate in the economy. We've had that before, and it can and has gone away.
Right.
And so like I feel like our position in society is vulnerable, and like I'm viscerally alarmed at the spike in overt misogyny and violence against women and police violence and immigration hatred, and like all of this stuff feels very familiar to me from a historical perspective, and it feels scary.
Yeah. See, I'm glad you know all this stuff. See, that's why I'm glad I now have a history.
Yeah.
Major, someone who's a history major. Because you're like, okay, I notice a pattern here.
I do. I'm not. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
And since we've been doing the podcast, and as you've talked about different parts of history, I'm starting to like pick up on that too. I'm like, ew.
Yeah.
This feels like a sea change. This is like you can just feel kind of in the air the way people are treating each other.
Yep.
And just the conversations people are having. Because where a handful of people, dudes, are like apologizing to me and like, hey, I'm sorry if I was ever creepy to you, or just they're sympathetic.
Yep.
But a lot of what I hear just out in the world is really essentially
defensive.
Yes, it's
rationalization.
Yes, and it's scary.
Yeah, because I have deep empathy for men on this subject, because they're right. For 5,000 years, we taught them that sex is something they take from women, but that was always a lie.
Yeah.
But I understand how they were taught to move through the world was taking sex from women, and yes, they did hurt people, but they're not. You don't have to be a sociopathic monster to fuck an unconscious girl because you were taught that pussy is a precious resource. The same thing that we were taught, that we opened the episode with.
Yep.
And that if you ever have an opportunity to get some, you should take it immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a problem. And it's a problem in the way that we think about and talk about sex. And I hope that we can move to a place where we can have like a reckoning and reconcile that was always wrong. And also, I understand how and why you did that, and like stop doing it, but like you're not a monster for having done it, because like this great exodus, I understand why men are so frightened. Like Al Franken's being asked to resign because I mean the picture is a mess, like grotesque, and that impish grin. It's like that same impish grin of that guy that got in that cab. It felt like that kind of thing. Like look at this dirty thing I can get away with.
Yeah, like haha.
Yeah. It feels really fucked
like
up.
I was on TV.
Right. And like he's being asked to resign. And I think it's right. I think that this is a moment to show some moral courage and understand that like men are not replaceable. They are not gods. I do hate this thing where we privilege and prioritize the like talent and creative achievement of powerful men. And we completely whitewash the careers that they've flushed down the toilet with their own fucking dumb dicks. Like, yeah, Louis C.K. is a comedic genius, but like we don't know what those girls would have been capable of.
Right.
They never got an opportunity to even participate.
No. Oh, I had a conversation in a writer's room the other day, and I know we got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
I had a conversation in a writer's room the other day, and I was in a table read. I was brought in to read part, And my buddy, we've been friends for a long time. He's a writer on the project, and I was meeting with the 2 other producers on the project. He brings me in to read the female lead, and they were going to do and just take notes. He goes, he trusts my judgment. Cool. I, at this point, was not a writer on the thing. So we're sitting there, and as we're discussing the episode, we discussed another episode, and then we're kind of shifting the story, and I had great ideas, and that I subsequently, I'm being hired, I believe, as a writer on the show, which is great. I'll announce it officially, and I'll buy everybody dessert.
Yay!
But they were having the discussion about the male characters. And the discussion, they were like, so they create this great storyline for the male characters.
Right.
And then they
just sort of threw the women in there like accessories.
Yes. And then they go, okay, so what should we have the girls do in this? And I said, do you want to, maybe should we just have them have their periods? And everybody got very quiet. And then they looked, and I was like, okay, so here's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And it was
right, because think about how many years we just didn't have women in the writer's room.
Yeah.
And it just didn't occur to them. And that's the thing that I think we're discovering in this history show is that we've written whores specifically, but also women generally, just out of the fucking story. They weren't making any contributions, but they were making major contributions the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
And so it's and we just pretend that women just learned to read 30 years ago or something. It's nah, bitches have been making major moves the whole time.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't occur to you if all you can see is men and women you want to fuck that you think of as objects and not people.
Right. It's one of the two. It's either you're this either you're the super dowdy, bitchy, cunty, of course she's a writer and she's probably smart because look how gross she is. She hasn't had own mascara in a couple years. Or you have someone like Nicole Smith who's just I'm super hot and I'm not losing weight and fuck you and I'm wearing fake eyelashes to bed.
See or hear her.
And then they put her up as just this clown, dumb whore bag. And it's so either way, there's got to be some middle ground, guys.
Yep. All right. God, let's plug our shit and then and take a break because that was really intense. There's so much happening.
I know. This is.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Anyway, please follow us on Twitter at Old Pro Podcast. We're also on Instagram. Please email us. We've been getting some incredible emails from people from all over the world telling us their story. We love hearing that you're not alone and you've never been alone. It's just been a really big lie that everyone bought into based on literally nothing. You are fine.
Yeah.
Literally, the deeper we dig into this, the more it's it's fucking crazy how big this lie is.
Yeah, the deeper we dig, it seems like the people in sex work are the most together fucking people.
Historically speaking, that does seem true.
Right?
Yeah. Email us at theoldestprofessionpodcast@gmail.com. I know it is onerous. I apologize. And also, if you're in the New York area or actually anywhere in the world, December 17th, there are going to be events. It's a sex worker holiday. It's the day we celebrate the dead. Here in New York, there's going to be a Glitz Ball. It's a big fundraiser for an incredible organization, an incredible woman. Tickets are available now. It's at Brooklyn Bazaar. So check out the December 17th event at the Brooklyn Bazaar in New York. Or if you live in a city, Google December 17th event. There are probably some whores that are throwing themselves a party, and you should show up and high-five them and give them some money.
Yeah, we're going to be there. Maybe we can do a stand-up, or we'll just come and we'll tell jokes to you if you come at the bar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, that'll be the one night of the year where you can tell us a joke and I won't punch you in the mouth.
Yeah, but you have to tell us you listen to the podcast.
Otherwise it won't make any sense and
buy
we'll
me
just
a drink.
hit you.
Until the Patreon setup. Let's see. My personal stuff is at Wendi Starling on Twitter and at WendyBird82 on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And where can we find you?
Oh, that's right. I'm also on Twitter and my name is Kaytlin Bailey. And it's been a real rough morning.
We are fired up and we're going to do another episode.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks. We love you.
This episode is sponsored by Velvet Swing, which is a cannabis-enhanced lube that is very nice.
Ooh.
You should follow the founder. This is a whore-owned and operated business.
Okay.
Mistress Matisse on Twitter. So buying this product supports not just your own sex life, but also the sex worker rights movement. Mistress Matisse is a big deal.
Thank you, Mistress.
Yes, you can follow Mistress Matisse at Mistress, MISTRESS,
That's Matisse, Matisse.
Yeah, you know why we feel so good? Because while you were in the kitchen about 10 minutes ago before we recorded this, I took the cannabis lube and I jammed it in my butthole. I'll tell you,
And
not the thing.
how do you feel?
Amazing.
Right? You feel relaxed?
I feel my butthole feels great.
Your butthole feels
Oh my God, I
relaxed?
didn't even think about this. This would be great for anal.
Of course. Yeah, you can't overestimate the importance of a relaxed butthole.
I love anal already. I'm going to be squirting all over the wall if I put some. Okay, now I do want to wrap this because I want to go get fucked.
Velvet swing, so you can get high while getting down.